Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hava Kunja Vihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrayakacharya Astodra Satasi Simahizima Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrayakacharya Astodra Satasi Simahizima Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sikaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardham Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Sri Rumini Dwarkadish Ki Sri Gauranitai Ki Sri Lord Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Yamuna Mai, Ganga Mai Ki, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki, Prasadam Distribution Ki, Harinam Sankirtan Jaya Ki, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. So we are reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the cleansing, no, that's not, what is it? Sorry. Chapter 13, the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Ratha Yatra. And the text, I don't know which text, which number text, does anybody remember? Which text from yesterday? Can't remember. Does anybody remember where did he stop? So okay, I guess I'll pick up, I can pick. Okay, text number 19. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare So text number 19, the verse is, everyone was astonished to see the decoration of the Ratha cart. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was as high as Mount Sumeru. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the year 1973, there was a gorgeous Rathayatra festival in London, England, and the car was brought to the Trafalgar Square. The London daily newspaper, The Guardian, published a front-page photo caption, "ISKCON Rathayatra is rival to the Nelson Column in the Trafalgar Square." The Nelson Column is a very impressive statue of Lord Nelson and can be seen from a good distance. Just as the residents of Puri compared the Rathayatra car to Mount Sumeru, the residents of London considered the car rival to the Nelson Monument. Text number 20. The decoration included bright mirrors and hundreds of chamaras, white wheats made of yak tails. On top of the car were a neat and clean canopy and a very beautiful flag. Text 21. The car was also decorated with silken cloth and various pictures. Many brass bells, gongs, and ankle bells rang. Text 22. For the pastimes of the Rathayatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one car, and his sister Subhadra and elder brother Balaram got aboard two other cars. For 15 days, the Lord had remained in a secluded place with the Supreme Goddess of Fortune and had performed his pastimes with her. Purport. The 15-day period of Anavasara is also called Nivrita, in honor of the solitary place where the Supreme Goddess of Fortune lives. After living there a fortnight, Lord Jagannath took permission from the Goddess of Fortune to live. Having taken permission from the Goddess of Fortune, the Lord came out to ride on the Ratha car and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur comments that as an ideal husband, Lord Jagannath remained 15 days in a secluded place with his wife, the Supreme Goddess of Fortune. Nonetheless, the Lord wanted to come out of the seclusion to give happiness to his devotees. The Lord enjoys himself in two ways known as Swakiya and Parakiya. The Lord's conjugal love in the Swakiya rasa relates to the regulative principles of serving Dwarka, where the Lord has many married queens. But in Vrindavan, the conjugal love of the Lord is not with his married wives, but with his girlfriends, the gopis. Conjugal love with the gopis is called Parakiya rasa. Lord Jagannath leaves the secluded place where he enjoys the company of the Supreme Goddess of Fortune in Swakiya rasa, and he goes to Vrindavan, where he enjoys the Parakiya rasa. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur therefore reminds us that the Lord's pleasure in Parakiya rasa is superior to his pleasure in Swakiya rasa. In the material world, Parakiya rasa, or loving affairs with married girls, is the most degraded relationship. But in the spiritual world, this type of loving affair is considered the supreme enjoyment. In the material world, everything is but a reflection of the spiritual world, and that reflection is perverted. We cannot understand the affairs of the spiritual world on the basis of our experience in the material world. The Lord's pastimes with the gopis are therefore misunderstood by mundane scholars and word wranglers. The Parakiya rasa of the spiritual world should not be discussed except by one who is very advanced in pure devotional service. The Parakiya rasa in the spiritual world and that in the material world are not comparable. The former is like gold and the latter is like iron. Because the difference between the two is so great, they cannot actually be compared. However, just as a knowledgeable person can easily distinguish gold from iron, one who has the proper realization can easily distinguish the transcendental activities of the spiritual world from material activities. Continue the reading. Text 25. The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of the Yamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked just like those in Vrindavan. Text 26. As Lord Jagannath rode in his car and saw the beauty on both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure. 27. The pullers of the car were known as Godas, and they pulled with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow. Text 28. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of any ordinary person. As the car stood still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all his devotees and with his own hands decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This increased their transcendental pleasure. Text 31. Similarly, when Advaita Acharya Nityananda Prabhu felt the touch of the transcendental hand of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased. Text 32. The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of Sankirtan. The two chief performers were Swarup Damodar and Srivas Thakur. Text 33. There were altogether 4 parties of Kirtan performers, comprising 24 chanters in each party. There were also 2 mirdangas players, making an additional 8 persons. Text 34. When the 4 parties were formed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Text 35. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, and Bakreshwara Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. Text 36. Swarup Damodar was chosen and the leader of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to this chanting. The five who responded to the singing was Swarup Damodar, were Damodar Pandita, Narayana, Govinda Datta, Raghava Pandita, and Sri Govinda Nanda. Text 38. Advaita Acharya Prabhu was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group with Srivas Thakur and his chief men. In the first group, Damodar Swarup was appointed chief singer, and the responding singers were Damodar Pandita, Narayana, Govinda Dat, Raghava Pandita, and Govinda Nandana. Sri Advaita Acharya was appointed as a dancer. The next group was formed, and the chief singer was Srivas Thakur. Text 39. The 5 singers who responded to the singing of Srivas Thakur were Gangadas, Haridas, Sriman Subhananda, and Sri Rama Pandita. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was appointed as a dancer. Another group was formed consisting of Vasudev, Gopinath, and Murari. All these were responsive singers, and Mukunda Datta was the chief singer. Another 2 persons, Sri Kanta and Balabhasena, joined as responsive singers. In this group, the senior Haridas Thakur was the dancer. Purport. In the third group, Mukunda was appointed the chief singer. This party was composed of Vasudev, Gopinath, Murari, Sri Kanta, and Balabha. The senior was Haridas Thakur. He was the dancer. Text 42. The Lord formed another group, appointing Govinda Ghosh as leader. In this group, the younger Haridas, Vishnudas, and Raghava were the responding singers. 2 brothers named Madhava Ghosh and Vasudev Ghosh also joined this group, and responsive singers. Bakreshwara Pandit was the dancer. Text 44. There was a Sankirtan party from the village known as Kulinagram, and Ramananda and Satyaraj were appointed the dancers of this group. And on the reading goes, it's so long. There are many names that especially the new devotees were not familiar with some of them, but we have to keep in mind that each one of these devotees are intimately associates with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're not ordinary persons. Sometimes we just take it for granted, it's just names. But actually, to be a personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like the greatest thing that can happen to a human being. So a lot of them are Nitya Siddha devotees coming from the spiritual world. And it is said that if one meditates in one of these devotees, he can liberate you, he can free you. So by hearing these pastimes, we actually get a lot of benefit. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Janma karma chamedivyan evan yo beti tattvataha tyaktva deham purnayama naitiso Arjuna. So by Krishna himself is saying that one who knows my form, names, activities, and pastimes, he will not come back to this material world. So this event of Lord Jagannath coming to this material world is for us to remember these wonderful, glorious activities of the Lord. So when hopefully at the time when we're leaving our bodies, we can remember one of the different incarnations or pastimes of the Lord, the name and activities. So this is the whole purpose. Now, many of you probably, maybe some of you, the new devotees don't know, but most of the senior devotees know how the first Jagannath deity came to ISKCON. And most of the senior devotees, of course, know, but for the benefit of the younger devotees, we will mention that there was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, a female disciple who was, wandering around, window shopping, and suddenly she discovered these attractive, cute figures made of wood, and she got one and brought it to Prabhupada. When she brought it to Srila Prabhupada immediately folded his hands and paid his obeisances, and the devotees were like surprised, what is this? And then he explained, this is not different from Krishna, it's Krishna. And from that time on, he gave instructions how to worship them. And then after she went back, because she mentioned this Mataji, that there were two other more figures, meaning Lord Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadraji. And that made the three. So that's how it came. So it's like amazing the way Lord Jagannath made his appearance, sometimes in a very, you can say, unique ways, like you get mesmerized how he came. And like that. So this reminds me also that some different Ratha Yatras that happen in the world, how so many struggles and anxieties, Lord Jagannath makes a whole commotion of different things that's going to happen, but ultimately to bring excitement, to bring happiness, to bring joy. In the meantime, maybe you're going through some heavy stress, but later on, it was so good and it's glorious. Just like the Ratha Yatra in New York in 1976, the devotee Toshan Krishna, I think he was trying to get a permit, and the city, no, we don't give permits. That was 1962. Since that time, we don't issue any permit for any parade. But somehow or other, he made a petition. They approved it. But then later on, when he was going to go to the chief police, they didn't want to sign it. So he has to go again and make a petition and appeal, please, my spiritual master wants this. We want this festival. And this chief, he goes, she's smiling. I don't know what I'm doing this. I don't know what I'm doing this. And that was the mystical power of Lord Jagannath and the desire of the pure devotee. So that proves that when the pure devotee of the Lord wants something, and when Krishna wants something to happen, no one can stop it. And that's exactly how this movement is going on. By the desire of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, all this is going on because he sent Srila Prabhupada to come to the Western world to spread this Jagannath Ratha Yatra all over the world. Now it's hundreds. We have hundreds and hundreds of Ratha Yatras all over the world: Japan, Europe, Mexico, all South America, and maybe in China. I don't know yet, but eventually. So this event has a purpose. The purpose of this event is to bring joy and happiness. The whole world is struggling there, is suffering. So the Lord makes this plan. And I think in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Tabakata mritam taptajivanam kaviviriditam kalmasapaham sravanan mangalan srimadatatan bhuvigrinanteye bhuridajanam. So the gopis are saying to Krishna, the nectar of your words and the description of your activities are the life and soul of those suffering in this material world. Who's not suffering in this material world? So he said, but this narration transmitted by the great sages had the power to enable to eradicate the sinful actions, and whoever hears this is so fortunate. Whoever hears this will be so fortunate. And he says, this transcendental narration by these graces are so powerful that this message goes all over the world. And he said, they are distributed by persons who are Purida, very magnanimous. And that's Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada and all the great sages of all the, parampara. So we are assisting Srila Prabhupada in spreading this message, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually said, Priti Vite Ache Nagaradi Grama. He said, my name will be chanted in every town and village, and this is happening nowadays. And me and my partner, and myself, we took this almost like a vow to distribute as many invitations as every person who we distribute a book, we invite him to the Ratha Yatra festival. And we, by now, probably we have at least maybe 150 persons each. We invite. Every person who gets a book gets an invitation. We tell them about the cultural event and the excitement and the joy. And now it's up to their choice. So we are assisting. Each one of us is assisting here, the beautiful decoration, the deities, and so on. So that's our duty. Now, if you allow me to and permit me, please, I would like to share with you some other aspect of the esoteric, you can say the esoteric way of the meaning of Ratha Yatra. This is coming from Mahaprabhu's ecstasy at the Ratha Yatra. Excerpts from the translation and purport to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Please bear with me and listen very carefully. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Jagannath, he saw that the Lord was with his sister Subhadra and was not holding a flute in his hands. Absorbing the ecstasy of the gopis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wished to see Lord Jagannath in his original form as Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, standing in Vrindavan and appearing very beautiful. His body curved in 3 places. His desire to see that form was always increasing. Just as Srimati Radharani talked inconsistently with a bumblebee in the presence of Uddhava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his ecstasy talked crazily and inconsistently day and night. Okay, Song of Separation. The Lord ordered Swarupa Modar to sing. Understanding his mind, Swarupa Modar began to sing as follows. Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. This song refers to Srimati Radharani's meeting with Krishna at the holy place of Kurukshetra, where Lord Shri Krishna and his brother and sister came to visit when there was a solar eclipse. It is a song of separation from Krishna. When Radharani met Krishna at Kurukshetra, she remembered his intimate association in Vrindavan, and she thought, now I have gained the Lord of my life. In his absence, I was being burned by the arrows of Cupid, and as I was withering away, now I have my life again. Jagannath, title, Jagannath defeated. This is amazing because Subhas was reading this morning from the praise of Kinchitaketu about how the Lord is unconquerable, but he can be conquered by his devotees. The Lord conquers his devotees and the devotees conquer the Lord. It's like reciprocal. And this produces an ecstasy. So, but in here it says, Jagannath defeated in a cute way. When this refrain was loudly sung by Swarup Damodar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again began rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The car of Lord Jagannath began to move slowly, while the son of Mother Sachi went ahead and danced in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Lord Jagannath kept their eyes on him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan performers, his eyes and mind fully absorbed in Lord Jagannath. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to play the drama of the song with his two arms. When he was dramatically enacting the song, he would sometimes fall behind the procession. At such times, Lord Jagannath would come to stand still. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again went forward, Lord Jagannath's car would slowly start again. Thus there was a sort of competition between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong that he made Lord Jagannath wait in his car. After giving up the company of the gopis in Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, engaged in his pastimes at Dwarka. When Krishna went to Kurukshetra with his brother and sister and others from Dwarka, he again met the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Baba Duty Subalita. That is, Krishna himself assuming the part of Srimati Radharani in order to understand Krishna. Lord Jagannath Deva is Krishna, and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Srimati Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's leading Lord Jagannath toward Gundicha temple corresponded to Srimati Radharani's leading Krishna towards Vrindavan. Sri Kshetra Jagannath Puri was taken as the kingdom of Dwarka, the place where Krishna enjoys supreme opulence. However, he was being led by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan, the simple village where all the inhabitants are filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. Sri Kshetra is a place of Aishvarya Lila, just as Vrindavan is the place of Madhurya Lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's following at the rear of the Ratha indicated that Lord Jagannath, Krishna, was forgetting the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Although Krishna neglected the inhabitants of Vrindavan, he could not forget them. And we probably heard this from the Krishna book stories, how sometimes the queens of Dwarka would, as they were asleep with Krishna, he was dreaming, he was calling the gopis, Radhe, 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 or he would call Srimad, Mother Yasoda. So they were wondering, who's this? What is he doing that? But this is, so it says, he didn't actually forget them. So Krishna was forgetting the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Although Krishna neglected the inhabitants of Vrindavan, he could not forget them. Thus in his opulent Ratha Yatra, he was returning to Vrindavan in the role of Srimati Radharani. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was examining whether the Lord still remembered the inhabitants of Vrindavan. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell behind the Ratha car, Jagannath Deva, Krishna himself, understood the mind of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Jagannath sometimes fell behind the dancing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to indicate to Srimati Radharani that he had not forgotten. Thus, Lord Jagannath will wait on the Ratha for their forward march. In this way, Lord Jagannath agreed that without the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, he could not feel satisfied. While Jagannath was thus waiting, Gaurasundara Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, immediately came forward to Krishna. At such times, Lord Jagannath will proceed ahead very slowly. These competitive exchanges were all part of the love affairs between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. In that competition between Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy for Jagannath and Jagannath's ecstasy for Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emerged successful. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, his ecstasy changed, raising his two arms. He began to recite the following verse in a loud voice. I'm not going to chant this Sanskrit, but that very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there. And the sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I'm also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back to that place on the bank of the river, under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. This verse was recited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again, but for Swarup Damodar, no one could understand its meaning. I have already explained this verse. Now I shall simply describe it in brief. Formerly, all the gopis of Vrindavan were very pleased when they met with Krishna in the holy place Kurukshetra. Similarly, after seeing Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awoke with the ecstasy of the gopis. Being absorbed in this ecstasy, he asked Swarup Damodar to sing the refrain. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke thus to Lord Jagannath, "You are the same Krishna, and I am the same Radharani. We are meeting again in the same way that we met in the beginning of our lives. Although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavan Dham. I wish that you will please again appear with your lotus feet in Vrindavan. Kurukshetra is crowded with people, their elephants and horses, and the rattling of chariots. In Vrindavan, however, there are flower gardens, and the humming of the bees and chirping of the birds can be heard. Here at Kurukshetra you are dressed like a royal prince, accompanied by great warriors, but in Vrindavan you appear just like an ordinary cowherd boy, accompanied only by your beautiful flute. Here there is not even a drop of the ocean of transcendental happiness that I enjoyed with you in Vrindavan. I therefore request you to come to Vrindavan and enjoy pastimes with me. If you do so, my ambition will be fulfilled." While dancing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again began to recite a verse, which he tasted in the association of Swarup Damodar Goswami. I'll skip the Sanskrit. So the gopis spoke thus, "Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter for those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers. We wish that these lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs." The title, devoured by a Timingila fish. Speaking in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "For most people, the mind and heart are one, but because my mind is never separated from Vrindavan, I consider my mind and Vrindavan to be one. My mind is already Vrindavan, and since you like Vrindavan, would you please place your lotus feet there?"
I will deem that your full mercy. My dear Lord, kindly hear my true submission. My home is Vrindavan, and I wish your association there. But if you do not get it, then it will be very difficult for me to keep my life. My dear Krishna, formerly, when you were staying in Mathura, you sent Uddhava to teach me speculative knowledge and mystic yoga. Now, you are speaking the same thing, but my mind doesn't accept it. There's no place in my mind for Jnana Yoga or Dhyana Yoga, although you know very well. You're still instructing me in Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. It is not right for you to do so. I would like to withdraw my consciousness from you and engage in material activities. But even though I tried, I cannot do so. I am naturally inclined to you only. Your instructions for me to meditate on you are therefore simply ludicrous. In this way you are killing me. It is not very good for you to think of me as a candidate for your instructions. The gopis are not like the mystic yogis. They will never be satisfied simply by meditating on your lotus feet and imitating the so-called yogis. Teaching the gopis about meditation is another kind of duplicity when they are instructed to undergo mystic yoga, yoga practice. They are not at all satisfied. On the contrary, they become more angry with you. The gopis are falling in the great ocean of separation, and they are being devoured by the Timingala fish, which represents their ambition to serve you. The gopis are to be delivered from the mouths of this Timingala fish, for they are pure devotees. Since they have no material conception of life, why should they aspire for liberation? The gopis do not want that liberation desired by yogis and jnanis, for they are already liberated from the ocean of material existence. Just a little, maybe like 4 minutes, please, your attention. This is almost the last part. Have you forgotten Vrindavan? It's amazing that you have forgotten the land of Vrindavan. And how is it that you have forgotten your father, mother, and friends? How have you forgotten Govardhan Hill, the banks of the Yamuna, and the forest where you enjoy the Rasa Lila dance? Krishna, you're certainly a refined gentleman with all good qualities. You're well-behaved, soft-hearted, and merciful. I know that there's not even a tinge of fault to be found in you. Yet your mind does not even remember the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This is only my misfortune and nothing else. I do not care for my personal unhappiness. But when I see the morose face of your mother Yasoda and the hearts of all the inhabitants of Vrindavan breaking because of you, I wonder whether you want to kill them all. Is it that you want to enliven them by coming there? Why is it you are simply keeping them alive in a state of suffering? The inhabitants of Vrindavan do not want you dressed like a prince, nor do they want you to associate with great warriors in a different country. They cannot leave the land of Vrindavan, and without your presence they are all dying. What is their condition to be? My dear Krishna, you are the life and soul of Vrindavan. You are especially the life of Nanda Maharaj. You are the only opulence in the land of Vrindavan, and you are very merciful. Please come and let them alive. Let them all live. Kindly keep your lotus feet again in Vrindavan. Srimati Radharani did not express her personal unhappiness at being separated from Krishna. She wanted to evoke Krishna's feelings for the condition of all others in Vrindavan Dham. Mother Yasoda, Maharaj Nanda, the cowherd boys, the gopis, the birds and bees on the banks of the Yamuna, the water of the Yamuna, the trees, forests, and all other paraphernalia associated with Krishna before he left Vrindavan for Mathura. These feelings of Srimati Radharani were manifested by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore he invited Lord Jagannath, Krishna, to return to Vrindavan. That is the purpose of the Ratha Yatra cars going from Jagannath Puri to the Gundicha temple.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ji ki jai. So in a similar way, we also bring Krishna to our hearts. You know, we might not at that level, but then we pull the cords and we invite into our hearts. Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.